don't get, everything is true. But what it don't get, I can't use. I need money. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Welcome back to episode, I don't know, of the MBH podcast. Money buys happiness. I'm sorry I do that every episode, so I'm going to try and cut that out soon. But we are here with our amazing guest, Matthew Maronne.
Thank you for having me.
Just endorsed you for water quality.
Oh, yeah?
He is one of the founders of Cycle Water. If the camera can see this, check it out. Fucking beauty.
Delicious.
But before I get too into it and say things that aren't true, let's get you to introduce yourself, what you do for the company, what your company is, what Cycle Water is. Give us the whole rundown.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me first off the bat.
No problem.
You guys at Neighborhood have been great. You've treated us at Cycle Water really well, given us a real platform to kind of share our message. We started this back in 2018 off this whim of an idea to try to create something that was a more sustainable alternative to plastic. And what we came up with down the line, and I'm sure we'll get into it over the course of the conversation, was, the best alternative is actually something as simple as the aluminum can. And we looked at the Canadian market and then the market abroad and across the world, and we found that there wasn't really an option. So what we did is more time, more research. We were like, let's just go for it. And we took that leap of faith, myself, and then I eventually pulled in my co-founder, Ryan, and a few others, and, it's been just a heck of a ride ever since.
So what were you doing before that?
Before that, I had a whole host of jobs. I worked, a little bit in banking. I had an investment banking background sort of throughout university. I did a few internships. And then I just kind of made a decision to go into business development because the whole banking thing wasn't really for me.
Okay.
Like the 120-hour work weeks over the summer when I was, I think it was from 19 to 21. Wow. Was grueling.
Yeah. Sounds
right. It was grueling.
Your face is really telling the story
right
now.
And I was sitting it was fun. It was an amazing opportunity. I learned a tremendous amount, but at the end of the day, I was like, I don't want that to be my life. Yeah. So, I made that conscious decision to kind of take a back seat on, trying to run things from a financial perspective and, take a more entrepreneurial route with my life. And to date, it's been a real challenge, but it's been fun.
Was that, did you completely just jump ship, leave your job and start this thing, or was it start it up?
So I had another job in business development for a private asset management company, and I was traveling to and from Europe a lot, and mostly to the UK, and I was always drinking black coffee and water. And I've lived a pretty healthy lifestyle since I was a high school kid, and I focused on things that were, important to my well-being. And I realized I was always buying plastic bottles, right? Everywhere I was going at the airport. And this was before the huge wave of, this anti-plastic. But it was always a concern, right? We had heard about these big, islands in the Pacific that had just accumulated massive amounts of waste that no one was treating or recycling effectively. And, I eventually said to myself, we got to find a solution. So, I was traveling to and from, always buying these plastic bottles. I made the switch to my refillable, but then you're at the airport refilling it. Yeah. And, I felt that was unsafe and unsanitary, right? So, again, this constant thought crossed my mind of what is a sustainable alternative, right? At scale, what is truly the best option? We in Canada have great tap water, but around the world, you don't have that luxury. Yeah. And it's crazy. I didn't realize how much of a luxury it was until I was traveling. I took a vacation with a partner of mine at the time. She and I went to Morocco, and, we went on a trip through the Sahara, and you see how important, packaged water is when you're in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
And you're out there, and it's 40 degrees in the middle of the summer, and you're just sweating everything out like I'm doing here in your office. Yeah. And you're there, and you're hot, and, it's this beautiful landscape, but you realize the importance of having packaged water with you, but you look out into this barren wasteland it's an oasis. It looks so beautiful, but in the middle of these dunes that are 200 foot high, you see plastic bottles from tourists before us.
Wow. Come on.
Who had left it. And this reoccurring thought was in my mind, what the hell are we doing? There must be something we can do to kind of solve that problem. And I said it to her at the time. I was like, I think I'm gonna actually do some more research into this. And eventually get back into the city, get back here to Toronto, back to my daily routine. And again, that thought of like that plastic bottle in the middle of nowhere just was in my mind. And so I did some more research, and eventually I said, you know what, March of 2018, I'm going to just, take that leap of faith. I'm going to start this thing called Cycle Water. Cycle Water being, the life cycle of a product, recycling, and all that, idea of being in motion. And that's what recycling is all about. It's about reusing things and making sure that full life cycle of a product is maximized. So I took that leap of faith in myself, and fortunately we've been growing ever since.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think it's definitely like a lot of people, they want to get into the entrepreneurial spirit. They'll start with like a clothing brand or something like that. Not to downplay that, but like it just seems like water is like such a interesting like business to jump into.
It was
because how do you have experience? Like, how do you even have experience in that? Like, you know what I mean?
I had very, very little experience.
Yeah.
None. I'd say none.
Yeah.
But I took a vacation in October of 2018, I think. No, 2017 actually, to go to like a water conference in Quebec City. And it was all these big, companies that are, multinational companies that sell packaged water and other beverage and food products. And I was there, and I was like, these are all old dogs, like very old, very like stubborn in their ways. And that's no disrespect. They've done something great, but at the same time, it's like there's a new generation, this new wave of trying to be more sustainable. And a lot of these people were complaining about the growing anti-plastic and this sentiment towards more sustainable alternatives. And I'm sitting there, there's a young guy with an idea. I didn't tell anyone at the time. I was just sitting there taking notes, quietly listening. And eventually I get back, and I was like, I'm gonna do some more research. And it's all about this time, and you spend in those, that 6-7 months before you actually commit to something on your own time, and you're just listening and gathering data and trying to figure out what kind of direction you're gonna go. And water is an extremely challenging market.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Right? It's highly competitive. It's, you have to market. But that's like everything at the end of the day. Yeah. Right?
Well, good thing you met us.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a great time. Like I really enjoyed like everything we've done. And how did we even meet? I can't even remember. It feels like
Abe. It was through Abe, but this is something I actually wanted to get into. I'm happy you mentioned this. I think really the connection came from online. Yeah. Which is like the beauty of what we talk about on this thing all the time. We talk with our employees, our partners, our clients, whatever. The value and how a relationship can be built initially from an online presence, right? A DM.
Yeah, something so simple.
Something so simple, right? And of course, with manifesting that relationship, and now we're here today. But I think it started from a DM.
Of course. I think so for sure. I mean, whether it was Abe or us, it was for sure through online, which is crazy. And you guys obviously are very active online. And
we just don't stop. We just don't stop.
Well, it helps you guys stay relevant at the end of the day. And those opportunities come, right?
Well said. And I think, to the point of being online, it's been a tremendous tool for us to just not stop, every day, every few days. If you engage with us, we're extremely interactive. Because we care. I like to say to the team, we're customer service first, and then like the packaged water aspect is second. Right? Because if you build that good relationship with people, at the end of the day, whether or not they buy your product, they're going to speak highly of the brand. And that's the truth. And like what our message is so simple. It's like try to live a balanced, sustainable lifestyle. You can't be like some people can. Some people can truly live that life where they are entirely zero waste, and kudos to them. But there's a lot of challenges living in the modern world. Like think of the PPE we require today. What's going to happen all that in 5-10 years? Right? So, we want to be safe on the healthcare front fighting this COVID-19, but also we want to be, cautious of our impact on the planet. So there's this trade-off between, living that balanced, sustainable lifestyle and zero waste. And where do we fit in between? And that's where we, Cycle Water is really well positioned to be that middle ground.
Because it's not hard to do. It's just you're switching something very, like you said, there's people that go all out and their whole life they're sustainable as hell, but that's obviously very unrealistic for the everyday person.
It's a huge challenge for a lot of people, and it's also, it can be very expensive for some because it hasn't become, accessible. Maybe you don't have your zero waste grocery store near your home, right? Maybe you have to go to another location. Maybe you have to travel, 2 hours to get to that store. And, I think there's a great movement in small communities to bring to light sustainability and sustainable lifestyles, and that's fantastic.
Of course.
But it just takes time and scale, and
that's something that comes with brand too. You're not really focused on the product. You're focused on that feeling, right? You're focused on that feeling with the person, right?
I wanted to say that too. You took words out of my mouth. I think what you guys did with the branding is very important. I think
it's an emotional aspect, you know?
First of all, the packaging, the actual can itself looks unreal. The branding looks great. The logo, the name, it all kind of fits. And what I like about what you guys have done, especially from an online standpoint, is you've also made it lifestyle. Like, it's not just like, hey, we're water, buy us. It's like, we're this water, we're a community, we're about the whole picture of sustainability.
And we believe it, right? It's not like some sugar coating on top. It's like a genuine commitment.
Well, I think it's very genuine, because for you to go into that business, you know you're not making money right off the bat, right?
No,
so this is not something where it's like, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and start a drop shipping brand because I want to make money in the next 2 weeks. This is something where you looked at it and it is genuine. Like, when I look at it, because I look at it and I see you saw an opportunity from your experience, and you wanted to adapt kind of a generation, right?
A grind,
and it's a grind, right? So that's why I think the whole genuine aspect is there, right? It comes from yourself, and you've definitely relayed that in the brand, right? And that's something to take, because a lot of brands that they don't focus on the whole story of it, right? They don't want to focus on the emotional attachment that people have with it, and which is relationships, right? And whether it's this can or it's sparkling water, or if someone knows your brand, you're set. The product's there.
Yeah,
they already trust you.
Yeah.
They already trust you as a brand.
And we have a lot to do to continue to maintain trust. Like, we see, sustainability is not like, you've achieved this little like marker on your corporate profile.
Yeah.
No, the sustainability is a never-ending mission, and it's a mandate within what we've created at Cycle Water to always try to improve our packaging and reduce our footprint. This year we teamed up with Plastic Oceans Canada, and for every can sold now, we're giving 10 cents back, and that's a small but significant contribution on like a $2 item.
No, absolutely.
Right?
It's huge.
And so, they've been great. They provide us a lot of additional material to kind of tell the story of how, Canadians on a daily basis are kind of making those commitments to curb plastic or collect plastic waste. And it's, all about that continued building of trust. And that takes so much time and discipline.
It's like he said, exactly. And what you kind of said is the whole genuine aspect to it. I think it's these types of businesses and these types of companies that, they take a little longer to grow than the classic drop shipping, do whatever. But it's these ones where there's actually a real change. Like, there's actually, you guys are really doing something good for, the greater good, like the greater community.
Hopefully.
Well, you are, right? And to whatever scale, you always hope to grow that as an entrepreneur. But, even if it has affected 10 people, like that's something that you guys can, I'm sure proudly say, like, we've done this for 10 people. We've done this for 20, 30, 100,
Those 10, are the people you want to focus on and grow those people.
Yeah,
right?
man.
Every customer like we have, it's like we try to build that relationship.
Huge.
Right? And so if you engage with us online, I mentioned that before, we try to engage back and have a conversation. If you have any questions about our profile, what we're currently doing to be more sustainable than some of our peers, we're happy to answer that. Now, that's not to say we're the be-all, end-all. By no means. We're in Canada. We have access to some of the greatest tap water on the planet. You should feel comfortable, if you have access to it, using your sink or using your refillable tap and your refillable bottle, But a lot of people, still purchase that plastic bottle, and so we're trying to curb that habit with something that's a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more impact conscious, and we've built that narrative to kind of go with it.
And the beauty of it is that because you guys aren't that multi-billion-dollar water company yet, man, that's the mindset. But because since you guys aren't at that point yet, the beauty is that you can take all this time to build a one-on-one relationship with every customer, every client, right? Yeah. And that's something that a lot of businesses fail to do, even in their early stages, and it hurts you in the long run, right?
It's just providing value at the end of the day, right? There's other water out there. If people want to get other water, there's other water.
Yeah.
But why are they choosing Cycle Water? It's not because actually the water inside, the product itself, it's the story. Right, so you're in a position where you're providing value on many scales, right? You're using social media for customer service. You're giving people valuable content and telling them about this charity that you're working with, what you guys are up to on a daily basis, right? That's all value, right? Another water company, many to be honest, are not doing that.
Yeah,
right?
They just don't see the value.
It's a new way. It's a new way of providing value, right? That a lot of people are not accustomed to. But you guys are taking advantage of that, and you will be seen, and you already are seen as more than just water.
Yeah, well, thank
Right?
you. That's a huge compliment, right?
Yeah. No, it is. And even back to the same thing, you guys, joined on to our run club, which, we can't thank you enough
It's
for.
It's been great.
It's been
It's been an
amazing.
awesome time.
And exactly, it's just even those things, those are the extra steps. Like, I see you there every run, man, going up, introducing yourself to
love
every
it.
person.
I absolutely love the run. Like, you guys coordinating that through, what a lot of people would have said was a write-off of a summer,
Yeah.
right, with COVID and everything. You guys in the neighborhood really stepped up. And Abe in particular, he reached out to us for this idea and just knocked the ball out of the park. I remember last year we'd done about 55 activations, right, in different events. And
That's a lot. That's a lot.
that's a tremendous
That is a
amount.
lot.
Yeah,
That's a
so
lot.
we use the can as a marketing tool for
Yeah.
sure to tell that message. And I've been to pretty much every single one. And I see how different coordinators kind of get things out the door, and we also did our own little things. But I watched how neighborhood and Abe and everyone kind of coordinated, and I was just blown away after the first one. I was like, this has the potential, and it's only season 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Really.
You guys got
Really.
hopefully many more to go, and
Yeah.
with a little bit of luck and God willing, Cycle Water will be there throughout.
For sure,
Right?
Absolutely. No, I love. I mean, again, appreciative of the fact that you guys came along on something that was just an idea, and obviously the execution has been great. But the fact that you're there every run, like the run finishes, everyone goes to grab their water. You're there serving it to every person.
Yeah, the PPE and everything. Yeah.
PPE, 100%,
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah,
safely,
I
safely.
know.
But just introducing yourself to every person, explaining the brand. Like, I'm sure I've seen it myself. But
Just
a lot
the can
of
is
people,
like a conversation starter.
Yeah.
So that's
Back.
already like a plus.
It does
right?
a lot of the heavy lifting, and,
course.
and it's this beautiful blue.
Yeah.
Right?
So who designed this can?
Yeah.
Well, I did. Like,
Yeah?
genuinely, I sat
Come on.
there for hours I think it was so we founded in March 2018, but things really picked up in September. So September of 2018 to November, I sat there with a graphic designer, and she and I built the whole thing. We're
Amazing.
talking hours of just sitting there, and I'm just like detailing, like, okay, I want I want
Yeah.
this, because I didn't have the technical skills to do it.
yeah.
And that's, if you can't personally do it, I like to hire people who are better.
Of course.
If they're better at doing it, I will, give them the reins, but I got to play a role, especially in the very beginning of the designing of the
can
brand.
design.
No, I like that you said that, because a lot of
Right?
people don't know, especially because I handle a lot of the design stuff in neighborhood, don't know the hours on top of hours that go into it, right? Like, it's your baby.
Yeah, well,
this is your baby, right? So
I give credit to that investment banking background where I was building pitch decks and slide decks and models that would be so nuanced, and you couldn't miss a period because,
Yes.
your MD, your managing director, or, when he's presenting it to
One
some
little mix-up.
CEO or CFO,
Yeah.
they might see that little,
Yeah.
discrepancy and,
Yeah.
and
your deal's done.
big trouble,
Yeah.
right? Big
Yeah.
trouble.
That's a question I had actually.
Right.
Have you noticed that experience that you had in that industry has helped you in Cycle Water?
Yeah, I think I take value from everything I've
Yeah.
done. Every interaction I always try to evaluate in time how I performed and how I can kind of do better, right? And so I take those lessons, and we're all relatively young, so we have time's our biggest
course.
asset,
Absolutely.
right? So if we can be critical of our time, but also learning and taking risks and failing,
Yeah.
right? Like the amount of losses and failed I had getting here, and here's just the starting point,
Yeah,
right? We have an entire, Mount Everest still to climb,
Yeah.
but looking back on the last 2 years of what Cycle Water has become, and it's just like, oh wow, like there's things I'm going through my phone, and it's like, remember this time last
Yeah.
year, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh my goodness, wow, that's
crazy.
so long ago,
Yeah.
and we've come so much further,
Yeah.
right? And so
What I'm curious about, sorry to cut you off.
No, not at all.
What I'm curious about is, I want to know a little bit more about, like, the first big deal. Like, what was it? How did it go down? Like, was it smooth? Was it?
It was, I wouldn't say we've had like a big deal, but we've had like big deals so far that have been really rewarding. We've had a lot of prospective big deals.
Sure.
So we're still in that like growth, early startup phase where you are targeted by so many different potential buyers, but for product, right? But at the same time, not all of them will materialize.
Sure.
So you're out there trying to make the most of it. But I remember a month after we launched the product, somehow this blue can got in the hands of an executive at one of the major retailers across Canada. And, thank being God, right? Thank God. Because it got into their hands, and, she gave us a shot. She sent us an email. We set up a meeting in February, like literally a month after we were out the door. and she gave us a shot, and it was a fantastic opportunity. A few months later, the deal was finalized, because there's a lot of paperwork for some of these bigger retailers. Some of the smaller ones, you just pitch the product, they'll buy a few cases,
try it out.
But in terms of like scale, you really have to make sure you have like all the back-end software and back-end tracking, and there's a lot of protocols we have to implement to work with the bigger guys. And so we're still in that phase of scaling, right? We're still very much in a startup phase, so growth is key, but we also have to make sure that we have cash flow, right? And cash flow comes from these bigger deals.
And how has COVID affected the business?
COVID, we used to have a strong like event space, right? We did stuff with Nike Canada or Terex, and that was growing rapidly. But regrettably, with COVID kind of terminating a lot of potential events, music festivals, and everything, that side of the business kind of not evaporated, but it wasn't the same, right? And so we focused entirely on internal operations and improving our end, like how we can lower costs, improve sustainability, and get the product out to more people via distribution channels, right? Surprisingly, our international operation has grown exponentially with COVID, right? So a lot of international buyers. We had a spread in GQ UK.
I saw that one, yeah.
It was really cool, and so they gave us a shout out, and that gave us a huge opportunity to an international audience. And so the events here in Canada have kind of fizzled out, but we're confident, as with we saw with this neighborhood run, that it's going to pick right back up once things get back to normal.
It'll be different ways, I think that experiential will come back in big ways, but I think it'll change a little bit from what it was before, right? Which is fine.
Yeah, and what we had noticed going into the end of the year, like we'll get into like how we kind of prepared, because there's just my co-founder and I, Ryan, we had this funny conversation in January about how there was those hospitals being built out of nowhere for combating coronavirus in Wuhan. And I said to him, I was like, let's be cautious. Like, let's actually let's not double down on our inventory, start spending heavily on marketing. Let's just be cautious, because this broke, one of the greatest information barriers of all time. Like the China information wall is massive. So the fact that they're building these hospitals almost overnight caught me personally by surprise. And so, I took this extreme cautious approach going into the first quarter. We could have done more, but fortunately we were cautious enough not to, put our necks out. And that gave us enough firepower, or I guess enough gunpowder, so to speak, to really take it into the latter half of the year, into 2021, right? And not be concerned, because we were able to just really, be cautious.
So in terms of like your role for the company, what is your role for the company? What does your day-to-day look like?
Everything. Everything, right? Everything like underneath the sun, right? So if there's a call, I'm on it. If there's something to do with marketing, I'm there. If there's, a Friday and we have cases going out, I'll do it myself. Absolutely everything.
So do you and your partner kind of just share roles?
He does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to like the financial modeling and stuff like that, because he's doing his MBA at Rotman right now.
Oh, nice.
And he's a smart guy and really down to earth too. And so, we have a similar background in a lot of ways, and it seems to be a good partnership.
Good. So you started on your own though, and then you brought him in.
Yeah, so I started in March of 2018. He came a few months later.
Wow.
Right? He's an old friend, and so I said to him, I was like, I'm building this out. Like, you want to help me, kind of see where things go? And he was all on board, right?
Has there been some days where you're just like, what the fuck am I doing right now?
Every day. Every day.
I was going to say, we all have those days,
every
right?
day. It's like you wake up and you're just like, why'd I choose to do packaged water? Like, why did, could have done a drop shipping business, clothing brand or something, right? But I chose this path, and, it's been
path
fun.
less chosen.
It's been fun. I think that's what's key, right? The moment you stop enjoying things is when it really starts to become a burden.
Yeah.
And these events that we do are probably the most fun I have, right? So it's when I can get out there and see people and interact and tell the story behind what, created Cycle Water. And it's a lot of fun. And again, I stress that if you lose that fun aspect and that excitement, like, and whatever you're doing, listeners, like, stop doing it if you're not enjoying it, right?
Absolutely.
And so you got to find something you really like, even if it's something super nuanced and super small, and the niche is small. Like, it's better to be the big fish in a small pond, right?
Of course.
That's my little piece of wisdom.
All right, we'll cut it there. No,
I don't know much aside from that. Like, I just think it's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
And
No, but what I like what you said, and I want to stress the importance. I think that Ernesto and I always tell a lot of our buddies who are, whether they're entrepreneurs already or getting into it or whatever, is like having a partner or partners is not a bad thing. Would you rather own 100% of a $50,000 company, or would you rather own 10% of a $100 million company, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. Of course, if your aspirations are to get to that huge market cap, it's hard, extremely hard to do it alone. Like you said, CEOs, we wear how many hats?
I wouldn't know of any CEO that would say they can do it on their own. And, and not even CEOs, politicians, doctors, everyone says that they have a team, right? And you want to build an effective team that can kind of carry that workload. But equally, what I've noticed from my short period of time on this wonderful planet is that you need to find the right people.
Huge.
You need to find the right people, and that's always challenging. Like you can have some great talent, but they might not agree with your approach. You can have some fantastically skilled individuals, but they might not have the same work ethic.
Yeah.
And work ethic for me is key. If I see someone is committed, I'm like all in. I love to see that, right? And it's just finding that balance within a person, right, that kind of aligns with your values. And there's that compromise that kind of comes between it. And I see it here with what you guys have built in Neighborhood. You've built a true team where everyone seems to care and believe in this mission, whatever it is that you're trying to do with every client, every event, and what have you.
That was always our biggest thing.
And it's funny because like everyone always asks us like, where do you find your employees? Where do you find your team? Where do you find your videographers? And it's a mix of us finding them through online and them finding us.
Well said.
It's literally like we made a choice at the beginning of the pandemic, and we're like, okay, we shouldn't be in a position where we're relying just on clients, because they come and they go, right? So I said, what's one thing that stays consistent is our brand. So let's focus on our brand.
Double down.
Triple down, quadruple down, whatever it might be, right? And just show everyone our story, because then people will come to you, right? And I think that's been a blessing for us, to be honest, because those people that end up just coming to you, those are the people you want, right?
We've have a great catalog of different content creators for us that have put things together, some amazing video content that have all been networked through Instagram and social media, right?
Sure.
And
it's a customer service tool.
And you keep hearing about how, like, you hear other far more successful entrepreneurs talking about how they've leveraged those platforms, and we're just beginning to do the same thing.
So
right?
what's your plan with online? Because I see you guys are very active. The content is beautiful. I think it speaks wonders about the brand. And I've always told you that.
Thank you.
And now you guys are upping even the engagement part, because you see the importance behind that.
Yeah.
So maybe talk a bit about your strategy online and what you guys wanna show.
I think it's just like content is key, and that has to be like branded content that meets the vision of what Cycle Water's trying to do. In terms of the actual strategy, I can't even put a nail on that. We're just trying to just tell that message and tell it in such a cohesive way that people can really connect to it. And it's genuine, right? And that's the key.
And have you had success in putting that plan to life?
Yeah, I think in some respects, and others no, but at least not to my standard, right? Like I set a very, very high bar, and I want it to be better.
Yeah,
but
you're always trying to do better.
Yeah, but then it comes down to like your access to capital and how much you're going to spend, right? We're in year 2 of sales, and we got hit with a pandemic, right? like a recession too, so consumer spending is down, right? So the question you have is like, what do you do? And so personally, I love to do these events, and the team likes to participate in these events because they see the brand out, and so we said, let's just do those. We did 55 last year.
That's crazy,
right? And this year we've done the Neighborhood Run Club and a few in January and February before COVID, but the Neighborhood Run Club has been just terrific for us, just also for having fun. Right? Again, it's this notion of enjoying and being in motion, right? Always moving. 100%. And that's like our slogan, right? Our slogan is be in motion. It's this idea of never being stagnant. And so we don't want the brand to feel stagnant, and we don't want people to be like we don't want our internal staff to feel stagnant. So we're trying to continue to do things that are innovative and fun.
And the coolest thing about
literally fits on brand exactly with the Neighborhood Run Club.
No, and the coolest thing about these events and stuff, and experiential marketing, which is also, of course, been very hard to do with our current scenario, but what a lot of brands miss out on is the content that you can gain from these events, these experiential marketing events. and the content, how much of it you get and how genuine it is.
Yeah.
Like you know, we got a photographer, videographer every run. You know, you have people holding the can, they're thirsty as hell, they just did a crazy run, they're drinking it, they're looking at it.
It's the perfect environment for you to come in with this
good,
can.
right?
But it's so genuine. Like the pictures, the photos, the videos, they're genuine. It's not like, hey, hold this can up against this white wall and let's take a pic, which sometimes is cool. It depends. It's the mix, right? But you can't get content that genuine outside of doing these experiential marketing events, right?
And I think we're fine from our end. We're starting to find our pace, right? Like from a corporate, you know, telling our story perspective, we're starting to find the pace. It's the first year you're putting out fires, there's challenges, you know, you're trying to drive sales with bigger entity. At least on our end, we were trying to secure a big client, a big purchaser / retailer. And so, you know, we were trying to figure all that out. And then year 2, you know, it was about telling the message a little bit better. And year 3, you know, what we had planned for 2020 was exceptional. But regrettably, we were like, let's put that puppy on hold for a little bit. Let's actually find our pace, and then we're going to hit the races. Of course. Right? So hopefully we're thinking 2021. We're thinking out to the future. Yeah. Right?
Your main job is to just continue to tell a story, stay relevant in people's minds.
Yeah, that's part of it.
And get more people to know about you because of the pandemic, obviously. You guys had to kind of switch
pivot,
over. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's all about being agile. And that's one of the key things, back to your point, Ernesto, is like, one of our biggest assets, in my opinion, was just that nonstop. Like, if we can tell a story, if we can get out there, if we can do an event, we're going to do it, right? Like, what's the downside? And there are downsides, obviously, but the question is, like, what's the real downside? And the answer is, if no one's talking about your product, then you're screwed. Yeah. But if people are talking about it, there's a buzz, there's an energy around it, you know, all power to you, and keep it going. And, you know, we look out on the internet and in, you know, grocery and abroad, and we see a lot of competition. And so not even just in terms of, you know, the beverage category, but in terms of what people are spending their money on. And so we're like, let's make this something that people can enjoy and connect to, and those values that they can kind of relate to, more importantly. And so we think we've had a little bit of success. But we set a high bar, and we want to hit that.
As you should, bro.
No, right? The cool thing is exactly that. I think you did, you know, from our experience and what we did, we pretty much did the two same things. Focus on continuing to tell our story and push our brand, while also on the back end, the stuff that people don't see is how can we cut costs? How can we figure out new revenue streams and the whole pivot from an operational standpoint? And that was what was important for our company for sure during COVID. And I know a lot of brands just said, you know, 2020 is a write-off.
With a little asterisk, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Instead of just being like, hey, listen, let's use this time to look into where we can better our company on a back end, where a lot of times when we're running full steam ahead, we miss these things.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't get that extra 20 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day to focus on, hey, what's going on over here? Why are we doing things like that, right?
So we focused on finding efficiencies. Yeah, and we don't have a big team, right? It's really small, but we focused on efficiencies and where we can maximize like our profit, but also minimize the impact on our consumers, right? And on our, you know, our entire supply chain. So we went through that and we looked at different aspects of improvement. And, you know, there's obviously going to be more to be done as we scale, right? We're still, again, I stress, we're in our year 2 of production. So there's still a tremendous amount more challenges ahead of us. But at the same time, you know, here we are, this lean, mean fighting machine that's punching above our weight class in terms of some of the bigger, you know, consumer packaged companies are definitely looking at canned packaged water as an alternative. And so here we are, you know, trying to tell our story while going through this challenging environment.
What's the big goal for Cycle Water? Where do you guys want to be? I know this is like the classic interview question. Where do you guys want to be 5-10 years? What's the big goal if you have one? Because I know it's ever changing.
I can't really vocalize it. Like just seeing it in more households, more people recognizing the brand, and also that like really curbing plastic consumption. Right, and finding products, you know, whether it's our product or another product, you know, educating people on, you know, finding something that's truly recyclable, or the life cycle of a product, more importantly, at the end of the day. Having people evaluate, okay, well, if I'm going to buy this cup, where's it going to go? How was it even brought here? Right? That full life cycle, that's, you know, is so important to understand. And how will it be maximized, right? And a can is simple. At least it seems simple to the average person.
Yeah.
But in 60 days, it goes to becoming a brand new can once entering the recycling stream.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's infinitely recyclable. It's lightweight, so its shipping costs are less, which means its footprint in terms of greenhouse gas emissions are lower. The consequence is, though, to make aluminum, you have to mine it, and mining can be really invasive sometimes, right? So, but then once it's in production, aluminum is, again, it's infinitely recyclable.
Yeah.
So it's in everything. And, you see these major corporations like Apple and whatnot, and they've become extremely effective at recycling. And I think Tim Cook said recently that all MacBooks are made from 100% recycled
Yeah,
product.
that was recent, very
That's
recent.
huge.
Yeah.
And like you see these trillion-dollar companies now making that strive to focus on the life cycle of a product. And that's kind of what our thinking is. It's like, let's just, continue along that path and just trying to promote that balance.
No.
Yeah.
Is this all done in Canada? What's the...
So everything but the cap is done in Canada. This will be done in the U.S. soon enough, but we import it from a German manufacturer.
Awesome. Yeah, and the cap is the coolest thing.
Yeah, the cap is
coolest
really
thing.
cool, right?
Yeah.
It allows you to open, close it, take it on the go. It gives it that functionality of a plastic bottle.
Of course.
Now, some people criticize it because it is plastic, but at the same time, it's minimizing that footprint, right?
It's still less plastic than
Yeah.
than a whole bottle.
Right, and there are some brands that have introduced, the twist bottle, and all power to them. Maybe we go that direction at some point. Who knows?
Yeah.
We remain very fluid, right? Like, this is one of our packaging formats we've kind of drawn up, right? Because it's an innovative, affordable style.
I've never kudos to you guys. I've never seen this before.
Yeah, and that was the thinking, right? It was, try to find something that people can really just connect to.
How'd you guys come to the lid, though? Like, how do you even draw that up? Like, how does
We were searching on the internet for things, and it just, the internet's a deep
down
well.
the rabbit hole.
And so, in that research phase, we designed a glass bottle. Like, I originally planned to do like a refill, again, it was like a refillable bottle, and we had it like 3D printed, and we had a prototype, and it was really cool. But when you thought about the scalability, it's like, you need hundreds of thousands, like millions of dollars to actually hit scale if it was glass, and you're like, holy, like, that's a lot to get off the ground. I mean, this, we needed to raise a lot of money too, but it was different, right? And consumers or investors can kind of relate to it a little bit better.
Sure,
of course.
And that's a challenge, right? When you're trying to tell the story and find profitability, and you're this startup with no experience, and
Hey, invest in us. Invest in us.
You kind of just gotta go for it. But
we took a shot.
Cycle Water, are we planning to see any new products from Cycle Water
We
can talk about?
Yeah, not that we can talk about, but we had a few things really in development for this year that we put on ice. Not on ice, but we put we're gonna sit on it, right? Because what's the point, right? We can't do these events as much as we want. We can't have the same PR engagement that we really were looking forward to, right? But there are some things in works. You might see it soon enough on our social media if you follow it. At Cycle WTR. for all the listeners.
You got us early. Usually at the end we're like, okay, let us know where we can find you, but this guy hit it early. Right?
You know what I was really impressed with was the fact that you were super okay with just giving product.
Yeah,
right? Which is something that like we battle with sometimes, like when we're dealing with other brands. Just some brands don't see it being worth it, right? Maybe one brand will think, you know what, I don't see myself gaining the exposure I need or the money or the return I need from giving away 100 cans, right? And this is not the most expensive product, but it's not also the cheapest, right? Like,
no, it costs us money for sure. Every can giving away costs us something, right?
So that's what I want to talk about. I want to ask you if you've seen a return, because I know you do that, especially for our events. Like you've helped us out a lot with product, right? And a traditional company would say, "What are you doing here? That's not the way that we do things."
We try to break the tradition, I think, in a lot of ways, but follow it in others. And so, we think about, we're still in that growth phase. Yeah. We're still in a huge growth phase. And what's important about the growth phase is you have to get people to understand the product. And if you have the marketing budget, you don't need to. Yeah. You don't need to give out product, right? Think of what Steve Jobs was able to do, convincing everyone to buy an iPad, right? This was his far-flung idea, but he created this market. And so we don't have that marketing budget. I'm just saying that. We do not have. Not yet. No, I hope so one day, maybe. But the truth being, it's like, so what's the best tool? And we've designed this gorgeous can to be able to be that vehicle. And so let's get it in people's
So that was
hands.
always part of the plan then.
It kind of came to life.
Yeah.
It kind of came to life. It was like we got an opportunity, and then we were like, oh, wait, this is kind of working. Like, we get content from this. People are talking about it. Like, you see people smiling, relating to the product. All these kind of little,
Those are the returns that you get.
you see these little, like these specks,
Yeah.
right? The specks of where it can go.
Yeah.
And, like, they start to add up, right?
Yeah.
It's like that compounding growth.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of luck and God willing, it continues to eventually
momentum.
crescendo. Exactly. Well said.
Well, for sure, you want to put
Well
the
said.
You just want to keep it going, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we talk about too. The whole online presence, I think, mixed with the fact that you're actually there in person talking about it.
Yeah,
That's crazy momentum, because usually someone's going really hard online, they're doing the right things. That's already great. But the fact of the matter is you're actually there in person at these runs. And
They're fun.
And you're there. It's you get to see Cycle Water in person.
Yeah,
And I'm not talking about this. But you do a great job in telling the story. Like when you're talking about it, and then I go see your Instagram post, I see the same thing. I feel the same thing.
Yeah, you build that connection to the brand.
And then the beauty is that one day now I'm in a store and I see you next to your competitor. I'm choosing you every time.
I hope so.
Yeah. No, but
It's an
that's
attachment
really
thing,
what
right?
it is. Yeah, exactly. And I think you guys have done a great job online and in person.
Yeah.
A hell of a job.
Thank you. Yeah,
Especially
thank
for,
you.
like I said, you guys are, in an industry where it's probably a lot of big dogs and guys who've been there for a long time, companies that, have
Could
been
be
there
intimidating
forever.
for sure.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing for you guys to even take that step to hop in this market.
Yeah, we punch above our weight class
Yeah,
for sure.
man.
At least we're trying to.
Yeah,
right?
no, you are, man, 100%.
And those interactions are what, at least to me, are so important.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's how you can really begin to connect and tell that story and have, I've said, I think, like 15 times at least, but it's that fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that.
And you got to look at it from the person's end as well. They're talking to someone now who owns this company, and they have it in their hand. I don't know many people that get to meet someone with a water company, to be honest.
It's a small group.
Or actually like hold something like this, which is quite special. This is not a Nestle bottle or anything like that, right? It's like you said, going back to those little specks, right? Like someone will remember that now. When they think about, do you know any water companies? They're going to only know you, right? Just because.
I hope so, yeah.
For the most part, like I said, I don't know too many people that know of many water companies,
Yeah.
especially a new generation water company.
I agree.
Right?
And we have a lot of growth to do on our end too. Like,
Yeah.
we're not by any means perfect. We have a lot of challenges in front of us from like a sustainability perspective if we continue to scale or when we continue to scale. And we're like, that's part of the cornerstones of this brand. It's to keep that at the forefront.
Yeah.
Right? So, connecting to us is important, but it's like, how do I choose to live my life?
Yeah.
Right? And how does, people we associate with, like, those sustainable goals are important. And, we all fall prey to the modern luxuries of life, right? So it's finding that balance. And I think that's something that's really challenging, but something we're working on, right? At least I'm personally working on it.
Yeah, no. And that's a big thing, because it's exactly like you're saying, the fact that you are living, exactly what your message is. Trying to. Yeah, but to the best of your ability, right? And so that's important, because if you were out here and you had this brand and, people catch you on the street with some plastic bottles, like...
Yeah, like...
Right?
No,
It'd be tough.
How the hell
Has that happened before or what?
It not plastic bottles, but like I gotta be more cautious, like for sure. But not just more cautious for the image part, but more cautious because like I actually care.
Yeah, well, you're
So
living
like,
the brand.
So it's like,
right?
why did I leave my refillable coffee cup at home? Oh, because I hadn't washed it. Well, like, was it that much work to wash it? No, get up and do it. Like, but I think I saw a funny image where it's the Drake's new music video. I don't know, it's a meme where the girl's sitting there in the big pile and it's like, my responsibility is Drake, and like this big mound of like Nike
laundry,
product. The laundry, right? And it's like, that's how I feel sometimes when it comes to like doing these tasks, right? But at the end of the day, it's like you gotta just suck it up and try to be and do your best to be cautious of your impact on the planet, right?
No, but it's important, and we talk about it, amongst ourselves and amongst our employees as well, is you are the brand. So, if you aren't doing your best to put yourself in a situation where people can recognize you and recognize the brand, then you're not doing enough.
But eventually, it also, like, what I've started to see, and it's actually one of the most rewarding parts, is it's starting to take root on its own. Yeah. And the narrative and people's interactions with the product are starting to take their own narrative.
Yeah.
And, that is so interesting and cool to see, because how people are reacting to this can is totally different than I might have. Like the messaging, each person's story, each person's relationship with it, and the brand, this like droplet icon, and how they're kind of connecting to that, and it takes root of its own. And so eventually, you're not the brand. The brand becomes something entirely different, right? And that's something that's kind of beginning to occur, and it's fascinating, from like just another lens to look at. Right?
No, absolutely.
Well, you put your heart and soul into this, so when people are holding it and talking about it and experiencing it,
I do care. I do care, but at the same time, it's like, you can't, like my partner at the time, she said something really powerful to me. She was like you have to learn to separate the two, and you do as an entrepreneur. You do, because that probably led to the end of that relationship. I didn't separate the two, right? And so, you can really, if you're able to separate the two, and there are good things in who you are as an individual, and great things with the brand too, and there are common themes. You don't have to be one and the same, right? Because you can. I know you were saying that like you are the brand in some ways, but you also have to really recognize that, you are your own person too.
100%,
right?
100%.
At least from our perspective, right? Like Cycle Water is a product. If I had an Instagram with my own information and I was selling myself as like a, that's a different story, right? And that's something you have to be cautious of too.
I think maybe I misworded it.
It's the product, right? It's a product.
The product is completely different, but you in yourself are your own brand, exactly like you're saying. Yeah. And so that is what we push, is that don't attach yourself too much to the brand. Be your own person first. Let people see the value in you as a person. And then the beauty is that if you are a part of a company, a service, a product, whatever, that also adds value. That's just your bonus. Right?
Yeah, well said.
That's your bonus.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm.
No.
No, I didn't say it probably the first time, but that is exactly it, which is just basically saying what you were saying.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. I mean, I want to talk more about the entrepreneur side of it now.
Okay.
Just because we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, obviously a lot of them watch this show. So talk to us about that whole aspect of your life, the entrepreneur side. Has it always been a part of you, or did it come to life when you're like, I need to do this?
I think I've always been a little bit of an entrepreneur. I've always been a little bit of an outcast too, in a lot of ways. And so, you kind of know at a young age, at least I kind of knew at a young age, I wanted to do something on my own. What it was, never really sure. I regrettably, in hindsight, 2020, right? So, if I knew younger, I probably would have done different things and made different decisions in schooling and whatnot. But, I always had that feeling I want to start something. And, who knows where it will go. Yeah. Right? I've been given a tremendous platform in life to try to take advantage of it. And I'm not going to give that up, right? I'm not going to not take my shot at creating something. And I think that's the truth. Everyone in their own way creates. Yeah. Right? And so an entrepreneur is just another form of creator. Of course. Right? It just leads to, potentially leads to a business, and business eventually leads to, capital growth and wealth.
What's a piece of advice you'd give for somebody looking to make a jump from the corporate world to
that's a big jump. And we deal with that a lot here, especially with anything financial industries, legal. Yeah. Like,
I don't think I'm qualified to really speak to.
Well, you could talk on your experience.
But I think, to that point, just invest in yourself, right? Time is, if you're younger, time is your biggest asset, right? And it can be very challenging to make that decision to like leave a more comfortable lifestyle and sacrifice some of those luxuries. But equally, if it's more rewarding, is it worthwhile? And so you have to ask yourself those questions every day, right? Every morning I wake up, I'm asking myself that question, right? And some of the challenges we deal with, I'm asking myself that question, right? And so, it's not like you wake up one morning, you're like, oh, I want to do this with my life. It grows, right? And eventually it takes root, and eventually it can kind of really drive you in a direction, good or bad.
I think you said an important thing there. You think about it every
day.
Every day.
And when you have that in your mind every day, you will take steps, even if they're little steps, right?
But they add up, right? Those little steps add up. And I've listened to plenty of podcasts, right? And plenty of different entrepreneurs speaking, and, been around many in a lot of ways. And so you kind of always hear these same things. It's like, invest in yourself. time is your ally.
And
like,
you just thought it was all cheesy at the
a
beginning.
lot,
You're
like a lot of
Yeah.
people think it's cheesy.
Yeah.
And it
I
like,
used to think it was too.
It sounds to
until you
to-
start living it.
Yeah, until you're actually there and you're
Yeah.
doing something, and like you're sitting across from two
Yeah.
other entrepreneurs on a podcast that you never had before. It's
Hey,
So, I mean, myself as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of times that I get super stressed out. I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I'm going to lose this battle today and I don't have enough time right now. So maybe as an entrepreneur, what do you do on a daily basis, weekly basis that kind of at least makes you more grounded or calms you down, or the time to yourself? Like what kind of things do you do?
I've really picked up hot yoga,
Beautiful.
right?
Okay,
Shout out
okay.
Soulless Movement,
So let's
Hey.
move it.
Laura
Okay.
Parisi.
you
Yeah,
go.
so she started the studio last year, and it's she'd actually be great for the podcast.
All right.
we'll get her
gotta
on.
holler
We'll get her
at
on.
her.
We'll
Yo,
holler at her.
Dean.
You know it's good.
And it's just a terrific time to go and sit down and enjoy doing some vinyasa flow and
What do you
Wow,
enjoy about
what-
it? Just the time by
I
yourself?
think it's the heat.
The
it's
heat?
the heat. It's the movement.
Sorry, what was it called? Say it again.
The studio?
No. You said some
Vinyasa flow.
Vinyasa
Vinyasa flow.
Yeah.
We're gonna need to put like a
Yeah,
little,
so
little,
it's
thing,
it's
little
a-
definition or something. right
That's
here.
something I personally really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
Before that, I was like weightlifting a lot, and I got bigger, like 100. Like I was a heavier guy,
Damn, bro.
and I've lost all that. Like I don't mind it either
Yeah.
because I feel healthier, I feel happier, and I run. I run a lot, especially since COVID.
This guy is at the front of the crew every run. He's
Yeah,
in
man,
front.
I've been.
I think me and you were together for about
Yeah.
200 meters, and then I like
Four,
looked down
yeah.
and I looked back up, and I think you were done. There,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not a fast runner. I never was, but I've
Yeah.
always liked a good pace.
At that pace, yeah.
Right, and so I was talking to Abe the other day, and I just run like 24 kilometers. It was just like on a Saturday, I was just like I want to go do something.
How long did that take?
It took about like 100, like an hour and 55 minutes less.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was a great, beautiful day.
Yeah.
And the hotter it is, almost the better. I
Yeah.
perform like I love it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I really find my stride and able to clear my thoughts. And I'm of the belief, ever since I was a kid, I'm of the belief where it's like if there's a problem, there's always a solution. And like that's probably the one thing I like really live by.
Yeah.
So even when you're stressed and you think there's no answer, there is always a solution. You just
Yeah.
got to find it.
Yeah.
Right? And the funny part is if you find the solution once, it'll be easier to draw on it in the future.
Of course.
Right? And
Amazing.
so like you build that catalog of knowledge. It's kind of like a playbook, right?
Yeah.
You look at all these like athletes or coaches, and they have playbooks. Why do they have playbooks? Well,
Yeah.
because they've seen this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, okay, I've done this before. Like,
course.
you build your routine,
Yeah.
right?
How can
And
we make it better?
yeah, how can we make it better? How can we improve upon it and
Yeah.
find efficiencies? And
And you have to be really organized to kind of be in that position.
well,
though,
mentally
right?
organized. I think
Of
mentally
course, of
organized
course.
more than at least personally.
Yeah, yeah.
Personally, it's mental organization. You see my desk; it's a little more messy than it should be. But like mentally,
Yeah.
if you're capable of compartmentalizing a lot of things and not
Yeah.
taking it personally,
Yeah.
right? Like a big part of being an entrepreneur is realizing that like everyone has an opinion, and everyone's entitled to their opinion
course.
most of the time.
Yeah.
But you don't have to take it personally,
Yeah.
right? You can just live your life and
Yeah.
figure it out.
I mean, that comes with stepping out of the comfort zone and going and doing something different,
Well
right?
said.
You're going to have
Yeah.
to understand that there's people that are going to not agree. And that's fine. That's why you're stepping out of that comfort zone, right? When
Yeah.
you're just doing things so people agree, you find yourself in that position where you're not happy.
Yeah,
Right?
Or you are happy and content for a while.
Yeah.
But eventually it starts eating away at you.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
whether it's a year, 5, 10 years down the road.
Yeah, you might be looking back and be like, wait, where'd all that time go?
Yeah, what the hell was I doing?
Right, where'd all that time go? And like, you hear that story of like generations, now getting older, and they're like, where did all that time go?
Yeah.
Right?
We used to hear all the time.
All the
All
time.
the time. Oh, I wish I was your age. Like the things I do to be.
Yeah.
When I was 16, 17, people used to tell me, oh, the things I would do to be
And
16.
I must sound preachy too, because I'm
Yeah.
saying that to like I have like younger brothers
Yeah.
who are like under the age, who are now one just turned 10, and so I'm like, yo, giving them like the playbook young,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just
It's
trying.
important
amazing.
though.
It's
That's
inspiring.
important.
Yeah, and like you see, some people really take to it,
Yeah.
right? And like those are the people that you got to put more time and attention to. But at the same time, you might say one thing to one person, one listener,
Yeah.
and they might catch something, and that might be just what they need to.
It could be their jumpstart to do something big. Yeah,
or
man.
more fuel to their fire.
Which
right?
is why we do this. Is the reason we
Yeah,
do
it's
this.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
huge.
And a question I have for you, and we more recently started to ask this question on here, was we always talk about the W's here generally, but we've started to talking about a couple of the L's. As an entrepreneur, there are a million L's.
More L's than W's, for
more,
sure.
Way more L's than W's, and especially in the startup phase, there's like 100 million more L's than W's. Maybe just in general as an entrepreneur, and maybe in the water business or product business. What are some important L's that kind of have shaped, your path?
I think honestly I can't name one.
Yeah.
Like not one, but I'll tell you this much: it's all about having like just more wins than you do L's. Like I genuinely can tell you, I've had lots and lots and lots of losses. Like just an incredible amount of perceived losses. Some might not say it, but in my mind, it's interpreted as an L.
Sure.
But I have more wins, and I think at the end of the day, that's what counts, right? Cool. To name one in particular, I can't really do that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. No,
right? I'm sorry,
like,
because you eventually, just like the playbook, you have your playbook of losses, and I swear to God, if there was a way of tallying it, it'd be to the ceiling and back. But at the same time,
that's the perfect answer,
right?
That's
at the same time, it's like, I've seen that before, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that loss. I see how it happened.
Yeah.
And, I'm able to critically evaluate it and be like, that will not happen again. And if it does, it might happen a little differently. But the outcome might be a little bit more beneficial.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's about being strategic and mentally organized to be able to understand when those events are coming. Because it's not like a loss just happens out of nowhere.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right? And we're still in a phase, like this could not, like there's aspects of this business that could fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully we have more wins. And that's the goal, right? It's really to try to continue to drive forward every day and be in motion. Again, that notion of like never stopping or never becoming stagnant, right? So,
the losses are inevitable. They're going to happen.
Yeah. You guys want to share one? Like if you got one, I'd love to hear it.
We have them every day.
You want to get into one, bro?
Yeah, open the can.
You know what? Okay, here's a good one. Our business is obviously very service focused, obviously, and we found a lot of times, especially in our first year of business, that again, very attached to our business, but we were giving our clients more than maybe it was on our contract, or more than they were asking of us, which we always want to do regardless. You're in a service-based business, that's kind of what you have to do, but we found a lot of times that we really personally connected ourselves and started to love the business and really treat it like our own. Like if we were pushing a restaurant or we were pushing a product, people would we'd be pushing it so much through our own networks that people would be like, do you own this product or this company or whatever? And we found that a lot of times clients can just drop you in a second. Marketing tends to be one of the first few things that when a global pandemic happens and costs got to be cut, marketing is one of the first ones. So we had to find the balance of, let's still give them that over the top service because that's who we are and that's how we built our business, but let's also find the ground of not being fully taken advantage of. But which is very hard in a service-based business.
And it's not only that it's a service industry. We're providing some services that are fairly new. So we go into these places and we're talking to them about something that they have no idea. We're not going in there and saying we're be your accountant. They know what we're going to do. But when you start talking about, we're going to be engaging on your profile every day. We're going to be scheduling your posts.
Community
management.
It's kind of far-fetched for them to understand.
They kind of look at it like, I have to pay you for this? Like, you see what I'm saying? But but that's just us dealing with the adapting part of it, right?
And finding value for yourselves, right?
Right, and that's kind of put us in positions to kind of learn how to properly show what we do in a better way, right? So that these clients are not kind of wondering, hey, what are these guys actually getting paid for? All they do is post, or all they do is engage with people. It's a lot of work in the back end. I'm sure you know that as well, right? So for us, we're in love with the process, right? So when someone comes to us and they kind of don't understand it and throw us off because of that, it hurts, that's our baby, right? Like for someone to say, oh, I'm not going to be using you guys for social media, I'll just let my little daughter do it for me. I'm just like really?
Does she have the same skills?
That's right? So
I got
it's because of a new service.
I got another question. Is that what's caused you guys to kind of create your own things?
Yes. So we took 2020 again, the big step back, and we said, let's actually invest some of our capital in businesses that we love. Smart. And now we can,
they'll be ours.
We can do our services to the best of our ability, which we always do, but it's for something that is a piece of it is ours. And there's really nothing more powerful than that. Like our team is not going to work harder for someone than ourselves, right? Like if we have a piece of this, like it's that extra little bit that you're like
the cherry on top.
That really made us kind of think like we really need to focus on our own brand here and what we can build from our own brand, right? And that goes back to it, not having to rely on clients in that sort of sense. I feel like we're in a generation right now, depending on industry, obviously, but if you really focus on your own brand and you focus on either your personal brand and what you're building and your own value, everything will come to you.
I agree.
Everything will come to you.
And that's not to say, like, you know, you don't treat your clients different. Like,
of course.
You set a high standard.
Of course.
But it's like that little bit of ownership is just such a rewarding feeling.
It's not so for the fact of like the work ethic or the actual services we're doing. They're the same. They're the same.
They're exactly.
It's just more of the fact that we know that this brand's not going to get up one day and just throw us out the door.
And I think, like, bringing it back to the point about entrepreneurship, where we've been kind of talking throughout the theme of this podcast, is like, to the listener, it's like that little bit of ownership you might have makes it all worthwhile. Of
course.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Even if, again, like you said, even if it's like 5% of $100 million company, that's still a big chunk of change. Right? And so, you know, building that feeling of ownership is really important. And it's hard to find that balance, and it's hard to want to own something. Yeah. Right, or it's easy to want to own something. It's hard to actually get it. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds great to be like, hey, we own a piece of this, or we own a piece of that, or I own a piece of this company. But it's easy to say, and it sounds great until you got to actually do the work. A lot of people, that's where they fall off.
Especially in like the earlier stages. Yeah. Right.
Oh,
like
100%.
You know, it's easy to buy something on the TSX or the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, but in reality, it's like those companies started from somewhere, right? And so those early stages are super challenging, and that's where we are. Like we're very much in the early stage.
Us as well. Yeah. We're what, a year and a half into it, a year and a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like you've had a tremendous amount of success. So
you know what?
Power to you.
There's a lot of things that happen in the back end, because us saying like we wanted to invest in these different companies now was a huge risk. Like huge. You're in a position where now. Maybe another social media company would have just said, you know what, these clients are coming and going, this is not going to work, right? And we know it works, right? So we're like, you know what, we're going to prove it to everyone that it works by showing them
those small little victories,
right? So we're like, you know what, if no one believes in us to do it for their brand, and I'm not saying we all obviously have clients, but it's hard to, I don't want to use the word convince, but explain what exactly we do and how well we can do it. The only people that really know it is our team and the people we've worked with already, right? So I guess we were just tired of having those conversations, and we're like, you know what, guys, if we actually have a piece of this company, we don't have to have these conversations anymore, and we can do things to the best of our ability, right? And even just things holding us back. Sometimes the client didn't give enough budget for us to do everything we've wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're in a position to do all these things we've ever wanted. So I think focusing on ourselves has helped us a lot, and that was our way of adapting.
But that's also back to the risk factors that during a pandemic where a lot of companies were like, okay, we got to save every dollar because we got to weather the storm, do this. We were like, we're going to fucking spend money.
That's what we were thinking too.
We spent,
like once May.
Like, Anna hates us. She's like,
shout out Anna for hating us.
Yeah, she's like, why the fuck did we spend this much money this month? And you need that person always right on the team. But we doubled down on everything, triple, quadrupled down on anything. I've honestly spent more money during this pandemic than we ever have.
Yeah. And I think that was their intention, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why they lowered interest rates, and they did all these, fiscal things to kind of really mandate or make it feel like spending money is actually going to bring a return down the line.
Yeah.
Right?
And we have seen it, not necessarily from a financial
we
or
might not for
years for sure.
Yeah.
But we've really seen it in building the brand. Now people also can look at Neighborhood as not just a marketing agency, which is our main core, but now we've also have a little bit of ownership in a restaurant. We have a little bit of ownership now in a construction company. Like, so we're expanding our umbrella too, which is something that from day one we've always wanted to do. Just wanted to give ourselves the right time to put into it.
Neighborhood's got a lot of different aspects, right?
Yeah,
so you guys are trying to build that name,
which is why we built the brand around that name, right? So it's been a journey, man. 2020 has been a huge journey. We're not done yet.
Some crazy risks been going down.
But
hey, we're all in at this point. You know, as an entrepreneur, I was just telling Dean about this actually, right? And man, it's hard to distract a guy like me and this guy and a guy like you, right? Like, we're all in.
When you put your mind to task, you better be willing to execute. 110%,
100%.
Right? 110.
So we were in that position, and we're like, you know what? We see it as an opportunity. We saw a lot of clients actually saying, oh, screw social media, or, you know what, I'm going to take it easy, or I'm going to go on a 2-month vacation, and I'm just
all power to you if you can take a 2-month vacation.
I'm just like, wow.
Jesus.
I'm just like, this is huge opportunity right now. No one cares to stay relevant at this time where everyone's online,
Yeah.
right?
Like that's something, like bringing back to the point about challenges, and like it's hard with terms of shipping our product, right? So, you know, we have this huge like growing presence online, but it's like, you know, it's not like selling, you know, a pair of sneakers or a necklace or something, right? So you can't have that same like point of sale online. And that's been a real challenge for us. But at the same time, if your focus is just telling the message online, you know, our goal is just hitting the ball out of the park in that message, and we're just going to keep hitting, or you're not hitting the ball out of the park, but keep getting on base. Pardon me. Right?
Well, the more someone knows about the brand, in turn, is going to be less of a conversation you have to sell it. Yeah. Right? If they're coming to you and they already know the story, they've seen the content ongoing, they maybe already talked to you a few times. They're coming in there. They don't need to ask you.
Yeah, we have a few clients. We have a few customers who just, you know, they just buy 10 cases a month, and they're like, "Thank you, God." And you're like, "Thank you so much." Like genuinely, and like sometimes I'll write a note being like, "This is awesome." Like, you know, you're with us since day one.
You need to go that little extra mile. It's not even a mile. It's about 50 meters. You're going extra.
It's funny how you find other people, especially as your entrepreneurial network grows, who've been there, who've done that, who get it. Right, and they're like, those early stages are super challenging, but if you can find someone who kind of relates, and a group of people who can kind of relate, that's awesome. And I'm a big believer in, like, you know, if my friend's starting a business, I'm gonna put money into like buying their product. Right. A lot of people want free stuff. Not saying that, like, you know, giving our product isn't a problem. Like, we know what we're doing with that, but it's like, if a friend's taking the risk to start a business, even if it's something simple, I'm gonna support. Like Livs with her socks, right? And like the tie-dye, right? Like you never know what's gonna come of it, right?
And that's huge, man. And you see all these posts about it all the time and stuff, people saying it. But like, so your friend starts a brand. Hey, bro, can I get that for $40? And then even though it's 80, it's like, man, this is the time that you spend the 80. This is the time you spend the 160.
Yeah, you didn't say anything when you walked into that mall and bought that $150
sweater,
fucking pair of shorts. Like, you didn't say nothing about that,
right? So it's like, you know, believe in your friends and find people who believe in you.
But what's important is also, as you said, is having that circle of people who are kind of in the same mindset or doing what you're doing, other entrepreneurs, if that's what you are, right? If you're an entrepreneur, it's keeping your circle close, but making sure that there are people in that circle who can relate to what you're doing.
And also, like, to that point, some circles aren't conducive to positive growth of your individual self, right? And that's huge, right? To find a group, and, you know, to be able to leave a group is a real challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Right? It's a lot of people, for a lot of people, that challenge. You know, maybe you're in the club scene and it's just not good for your health. Right? Not even from an entrepreneurial perspective, but from that holistic well-being perspective,
just
right?
as a human being.
Right? So, or maybe, you know, you're super into yoga or something that just, you're doing it every day too much. Like, there's a fine line in terms of when it becomes an addiction, or it becomes a really negative habit on your life. Right? Not saying that clubbing and yoga are one and the same, but saying that point being that, you know, you have to find that balance. And that's a huge challenge I think everyone is dealing with on a daily basis. 100%. Right?
I think that's a huge aspect of growth. I think that's when you notice your growth, when you start realizing that, you know what, I need to be more around this kind of person. That's growth, right? And me personally, that's where I started experiencing the most growth. Every time I would kind of update my circle.
You know, it does update.
It's a software update.
Like every time I would be like, okay, no, I need to be around this person. Like, I saw how they were acting and I saw what they're doing with their life. I like that. I want to be around that, right? And slowly just building that. But that's growth, right?
Yeah, it's a cycle, right? And every once in a while you'll have like old people coming back in because they've gone through their own evolution.
Of course.
And I love to see that. Like,
that's the best. Like,
I really like to see when, like, someone's, you know, who's been some way back in the past, but has curbed that habit to become the better version of themselves, right? And, like, all power to you in your quest to being that individual.
Everyone's got their own path and quest, like you said.
And you're going to go through ups and downs. There's a cycle to life. There's a cycle to how we live our, you know, how we go about doing things. You're going to go through those lulls and those funks, but eventually you'll get back up to that high again and you'll feel good. And the key is to have more of that feeling, you know, like fulfilled. And I feel like today it's really, especially with everything with COVID, it's really hard to feel fulfilled in a lot of ways. And we're finding value in simple interactions, right?
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
And I think, you know, bringing it back to this neighborhood run you guys have done, it's like, it is so great And like that's why I'm there every time. It's become something on a Wednesday that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Like genuinely.
Yeah. No. For
right.
Sure.
And it's just something that's hard to just create.
Of
like
course.
All credit to you guys for doing so and doing so.
And honestly, credit to the people that come out.
Yeah. Shout out to.
I feel like
sure.
everyone that's coming out to these runs is so like-minded and so open to learning and meeting people.
Yeah.
That it's so fascinating to me, And we come from a background of events, so we've seen it on different scales, right? But to see it in an environment like that, like we're not drinking, we're not partying, and
that was another
and
thing.
I felt drunk yesterday because I was so happy.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? Like, why has excitement been tied to drinking?
Yeah.
Like, why
Drugs or
Or
alcohol?
partying.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
Partying.
partying, and like I like partying. Don't get
Of
me
course,
wrong.
time and
right?
place.
Time and place, but equally, why?
Yeah.
And that's the question I always ask.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Well, that's what was so good about it. I mean, of course, we're raising money for two really
I
good
agree.
charities, which of course stands over everything. But yeah, the beauty of coming out and having like-minded people around and being able to bring people out and get them excited about a 5K run every Wednesday. Like, who would have thought, right?
Yeah,
Who
I
would have
agree.
thought? Like, we're not saying, hey, come and drink for free, come and eat free food,
That's
or come
easy
and do
stuff.
this.
That's
like,
easy stuff.
This is like,
Yeah.
hey, come run for 5 kilometers with
Sweat.
Yeah, come run,
After you're
sweat.
done work, after you're done your long day
Like,
at work, come run. 5
Yeah, like
kilometers.
middle of the week, like
Yeah.
big tired point,
Yeah.
like, and
So the people that are there really want to be there.
Yeah, and,
That's
and
the
the,
thing.
the great thing is that it's growing.
yeah.
Right, and
Every
you see,
week,
and
man.
everyone goes with a smile.
Yeah.
Everyone's there with a smile. Everyone finishes their run, and
Yeah.
like you're sweaty and you're tired, but
Yeah.
you're smiling, and
Yeah.
that is huge.
Yeah.
Because what's it saying? It takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So it's like
Yeah.
There you go.
smile and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's a great time.
Well, you've
to do
definitely
it.
added a lot of value for us
Huge,
on that term,
huge,
on
man.
that side of things, and man, like we're super grateful for
Yeah.
your
Oh,
relationship.
guys,
Yeah.
it's our pleasure. It's my
Yeah, no,
pleasure.
yeah.
Like genuinely, it's been fun, and
Yeah.
I think it's like
I hope we can keep it growing, man, and I think it will. I think more people see the kind of engagement going on and just the energy we have there, right?
Yeah.
Like, it
Energy's
just felt like
crazy.
we're in our own bubble of
this
energy.
is season 1. This
Yeah.
is season 1,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Like,
the beauty is you can even feel that energy through the content, which is crazy.
Yeah,
which
and
is
like
crazy.
that's a shout out to the content creators you guys
Yeah,
have on your team.
100%.
Shout out
right?
Brandon and Tiger.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big.
Right, and like we believe in having great content creators on our end too.
Yeah.
Right, we've had some really talented photographers, videographers, and just people who care. And
Well, it's
reach out.
funny that role as a content creator has only really come into play in the last few years. Like, no one ever called themselves a content creator 5
Yeah.
years ago. Barely. Very small amount of people
They were just
did.
like a graphic designer.
Well, I was a graphic designer, or I take
Photographer.
pictures, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now this role of content creator has become so big and it's become so important, for small businesses, for small brands, all the way up into, the biggest, the Fortune 500 guys.
I think the credit is that the little guys have set the tone,
Yes.
and now the big guys are starting to adopt a lot
Yeah.
of those techniques, a lot of those processes too. Because
You're having these big companies, they are adopting. These big companies are reaching out to freelancers via DM on Instagram
Yeah.
and being like, hey, love the videos you've been doing on your gram. And these are guys with, who knows, 2, 3, 4,000 followers. And you got a big company like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Nike coming and saying, hey, we love your work. We want you to shoot this for us. Like, how crazy is that?
I think it's
Right?
fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's I'm a big optimist. I'm a big believer in having people do expanding your horizons, and I think a lot of these businesses are doing that, and we try to literally do it every day,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's what kind of sets us apart, because if you don't do it, you will stagnate and you will fail, right?
Yeah.
But if you really believe in what you're doing, you expand that horizon, you DM that person,
Yeah.
you actually make that first,
You think about it every day.
you reach out to that person,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they reach out to you, and
Yeah.
you respond. Like, that's the key. It's
Huge.
having that communication.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the amount of DMs we've gotten critical of our product, and some have been extremely positive about our product, and we interact with both, because if you have that connection, you never know where it might lead.
Of course.
Right? Like, it led us to you.
Yeah.
Right? And this has been a tremendous opportunity, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, even the critical ones and the people who maybe, in a lack of better words, bashing your product.
Yeah.
That's where you guys, and this is the beauty of social media, it being a customer service tool, is you have the opportunity now to turn that into a positive.
Well, we try to communicate our
Yeah.
message. We
Yeah.
try to, at least on our end, we try to tell that story of what we're trying to do, and that it is a journey. Like, we aren't, we've been founded on the principles of that balanced, sustainable lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? And we're going to have faults. We're going to have failings. We're not going to be where we want to be entirely, but it's that journey, and we're committed to making that transition and providing a sustainable alternative, right? You know, in Canada, I said at the very beginning, and I'll say it again now, it's like we have access to some of the greatest tap water. It's like the Wagyu beef of water. It's fantastic in most places.
To be honest,
it's amazing. It's
crazy.
great quality water. It's like Canada's a fantastic place to live, right? And so, you know, use your refillable bottle on the go, right? But why are you buying plastic water from half a world away?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Why? That's a question to ask.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing the answer more and more in consumers making the decision to buy those refillable bottles. And then the deeper question is, how many refillable bottles do you right now have in your drawer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That you don't use.
That you do not use.
Yeah.
I have like
Right?
15, 20.
There's
think about
something-
that.
There's something about just the disposability of the bottle that people like.
So where's the life cycle of that product?
Yeah.
Right? How so it just sits there. Right? I get having 2 or 3, one might get dirty or bacteria and you want to throw it out, right? But it's like having that understanding of where is that product going to go? How am I going to reuse it? How am I going to use it like on a daily basis? How am I going to keep it clean? It's just it's a fine line we have to walk and figure out, and I think there's no correct answer, right? We're learning more and more. The beauty about, you know, innovation is that new opportunities are going to come, new products are going to hit the market, and you know, we're going to keep evolving, and that's at least my outlook, being a positive thinker.
Of course.
Well, the beauty is we have cycle water.
And that's exactly
You know
what we're here
what I
for. Yeah, it's like you put that can in the recycling bin, 60 days later it becomes a new can, right? Or, you know, and that's the key, right?
No, it's listen, man,
Dope.
you've done a really really
What
good
kind of
job
thoughts
with
you
it.
want to leave people with here?
Yeah.
I think I've said enough. I think a lot has been covered on this chat.
Where can we find you?
So
Is there retailers we can find you in as well?
Yes, we're in 100 locations across Canada.
Wow,
Summerhill
amazing.
Market, Loblaws. Loblaws is definitely our biggest chain. You guys can find us there. Use our store locator app on our website.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then like that literally finds the nearest
Give us a
location.
rundown, the Insta, your personal Insta.
I don't
the-
have personal Insta.
Oh
No,
shit!
he doesn't, he
strictly?
doesn't.
Strict, yeah. So
Okay,
I
it makes
like,
sense because I'm like, yo, this guy didn't follow me.
No,
Just
so it's
kidding,
like
I'm
that
just
was a
kidding.
conscious choice too. It's
Yeah.
like I kind of got on the social media game late. I was like, I don't want to play catch up. I want to actually focus on like a business.
Me and you will have a talk about that one day.
Yeah.
he doesn't
I'm
like
gonna
that.
get
He
it
doesn't
deep.
like that. But
No, I'm kind of thinking about setting one up like at the Water Dawn. No, that's taken.
Water King T.O.
Yeah, no.
but yeah, maybe let us know the Insta.
So Cycles Insta is Cycle CYCLE WTR.
Awesome.
You'll find it on the can, or if you I'm sure we'll be tagged on this post too.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. If it pops up, if you guys are doing the video. Just
Yeah, we'll pop you up.
And everyone come out to run and meet this guy and check out these fucking cans.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
to say one last thing. Like, thanks to everyone who's helped us get to where we are today, and it's meant a lot. And I thank you to everyone who is going to continue to help us grow, and that includes the neighborhood team and you too, and
We
it's been
appreciate
great.
it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, 100%. We love working with
Just
local
a start,
brands.
Just
And
a start. I hope we can do a lot more together, man. I think we will be able to.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities in the future, right? And let's just hope we can curb this pandemic, and
we will.
and
We'll come out of it
I
strong.
think I think we got the right people around us that are really working to drive that change, and healthcare workers that are making that commitment, and that's something
We're
care
gonna get
about.
you back on, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about the growth in a couple months.
Yeah,
maybe,
man.
I don't
This
know
has
about a
been-
couple months, maybe a few years.
Nah,
We'll get you on for the
we'll
next
get
year.
you on. It was a good chat.
Yeah, I agree.
We appreciate having you on, and
Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem. On that note, we are out.
Money don't get everything is true, but what it don't